On today's episode of Phinside The NFL, the Miami Dolphins have trimmed their roster down as they get to 53 men. We're still waiting on a few cuts at the beginning of this show for them to be compliant, but we're only a few away from getting a feel of this 53. So we will talk about all the cuts, who was the biggest surprise to be cut, who was the biggest surprise to make the roster, and much more. Plus, we will discuss Jeff Darlington finally calling out this Jets nonsense that I've been talking about all year. And on top of that, OBJ, he will be missing the first 4 games of the season. So a lot to talk about. Smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Let's get into this.
Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle has a Dolphin touchdown. And he will score! Deep upfield on the near side, that open. Touchdown! The run from Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. It's going to be a touchdown again.
Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. Let's go!
This video is brought to you by BetUS Sportsbook and Casino.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason. We are back here for another one as, man, an hour and 2 minutes ago, all rosters in the NFL had to be 53-man compliant. So we are just waiting on a few little names, a few little cuts to trickle out, and then we'll know pretty much everything. We were waiting on 4 cuts, and then it was announced Cam Smith was going to IR. So again, we literally just have a few more cuts to go here, and then we pretty much know what's going on. So we will be live here for the next little bit. We're going to go over all the cuts that have already happened, plus a whole lot more. All right, so we got a lot to talk about on today's episode. Just do me the favor, as you come in, smash the like button. Subscribe if you are new. Man, this is nice because last year, you know, I was in Paradise Island, Bahamas, instead of sitting here going over cuts with you guys. So we're back, baby. We're back. Anyone cut from other teams you were looking at for us? Yes, sir. I'm going to go over. I put together a list. Plus, I'm going to go over to a cut tracker, and we'll go by team and see if there's anyone I missed, because it's been hard to keep up with all the names that have been flooding, right? Brad Martin says, thank God to have made the team. But yeah, we're gonna talk about this. All right. Now, I see a lot of people are mad about you know, I think a lot of people are mad. Well, I was like, technically I was wrong on OBJ too, right? Like, I had my theory that he was going to be playing for week 1. So, you know, chalk it up as one of the few times Reason is ever wrong. So, you know, I thought he'd be healthy too, you know, and yesterday they didn't really give us a straight answer, TBD, acquiring more information. And I sat up here and I said, you've had this guy since May. What more information do you need right now? Now, I can see people are, you know, panicking a little bit. This is not a Will Fuller situation, ladies and gentlemen. Let's remember, I was out ahead of Will Fuller before anyone. I had the Will Fuller contemplating retirement information before anybody. And then he came back and played 1 game. People mocked me, and then he turned around and he retired. So, no, I don't think this is the same thing right now. From what I'm understanding, OBJ had a procedure, right? He had a procedure done in the offseason, and that's why they knew this could be a possibility. So clearly, he's not fully healthy back from that procedure. So we'll see what happens. Now, I will say this. I would rather have him for the last 4 games of the season than the first 4. Let me be the first to tell you that. All right. So, I'm not going to sit up here and, hey, I was wrong. But at the end of the day, at least they are, at least they're taking their time with it. Right. At least they're not jumping out. Honestly, this is where I'm at right now. Okay. Here's my thing. We talked about Tua yesterday, basically saying in his press conference, it doesn't matter who's blocking for me because I get the ball out so quick. All last season, I was talking about how they didn't have a good third option, and especially they needed to upgrade at tight end. Now, they upgraded at tight end. Obviously, they added Jonnu Smith. Julian Hill looks like he's taking a corner. But where are we receiver-wise? Like, think about this for a second. Where are we receiver-wise? We're in the exact same place we were last year to start the season. Like, Braxton Berrios is making this team based on the fact that what other bodies are going to take him. I mean, Braylon Sanders hasn't even been announced cut. Dana Bice says here, shout out to Dana, I think Tanner Conner makes the roster. Dude, I think Tanner Conner makes the roster now because I think you're going to have to see a lot of 12-man personnel. I think now, because of the injuries, they are going to carry 4 tight ends. That's the reality of the situation. I think that's very, 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 that's very feasible. I think you're going to see some 22 personnel, some 12 personnel. I think you are going to see some heavy sets here. I mean, look at, if you're top 6, let's just go with your top 6 right now. If your top 6 were Tyreek, Waddle, OBJ, Malik, Erik Ezukanma, and River Craycraft, let's go through them. Tyreek Hill, battling an injury. Waddle just returned, battling an injury. OBJ on PUP. Malik, healthy, thank God after that hit. Right? River Craycraft, PUP. Erik Ezukanma, foot was in a boot. Like, they've literally put themselves in the same exact position as they were last year. Like, I don't want Robbie Chosen. No, I'm good. Hey, Michelle, how you doing? I'm good. I'll tell you right now. You want to hear some receivers I like that are out there? And we'll go over the list. Noah Brown got cut by the Texans today. Terrace Marshall Jr. got cut by the Panthers today. KJ Hamler got cut today. I'd look into KJ Hamler. A guy who I'd look at, they weren't able to trade him. They had to cut him. Tim Patrick got cut. Hell, against the Bucks, we saw Cody Thompson make some nice plays. Cody Thompson got cut today. He's a tough guy that can block and make catches for you. Now, who I do not want, and I want to make this very, very clear, I want nothing to do with Kadarius Toney. Please, God, let that be known right now. I do not want Kadarius Toney. The guy's got brick hands. I don't care how fast you are. You got brick hands. And do I want that attitude and the way he conducts himself down in South Florida and Miami in the nightlife? No. I want nothing to do with Kadarius Toney. So I don't even want to hear that suggestion. I want nothing to do with Kadarius. At all. Not one freaking bit. All right? So miss me because I know people are going to be, Kadarius Toney. I'm good. I am very, very good. Martavius Bryant got released today by the Washington Commanders too. Like, you know, if you want a I said this on Twitter, I'll say it again. If you want a quarterback that is a guy you can slide behind Skylar Thompson as a number 3 young developmental guy, Sam Hartman got cut today by the Commanders too. I would be down on that. Now, another interesting one that got cut too, Dwayne Eskridge from Seattle. Now, if you guys can remember, there was some real interest generally from the draft community in Dwayne Eskridge when he was coming out. Remember, small school guy, right? He's a kick returner, played at Western Michigan, all right? But Dwayne Eskridge, that's an interesting, we're talking about a track and field star too, right? That would be very interesting for me. He runs a 4.39. I like Dwayne Eskridge coming out. I think that would be an interesting ad. I would take Dwayne Eskridge over Kadarius Toney all day. For sure, 110%. But I will say this. Paris Campbell got cut, and he keeps to jump around since Indianapolis. There's really, who's out there that got cut today that you'd really be running to the waiver wire for? Allen Robinson got cut by the Giants, but it ain't the Allen Robinson from a couple years ago. Puka Nakua's brother, Samson Nakua, got cut today. So, we're going to go over all the lists of all the guys cut, a lot of the big names. We'll go over them all. But there's really not a lot of guys to run to the waiver wire for right now. All right? I'll give you a list I've compiled a little bit of a list all together. I'll read it to you. Denzel Mims got cut. This guy can't stick anywhere. What a bust that was for the Jets, right? So, there are options at wide receiver if you want to go out there and get one. But there's nothing that's really, and what can you expect? Who's going to move the needle right now? Right? So, we'll get into it all, though. We got a lot to talk about. Over 656 of you in the room right now. Reason, does this mean we'll see a lot of Achane at wide receiver? I think you're going to see a lot of Achane at wide receiver no matter what. I think you were going to see that no matter what. But this wide receiver, listen, you basically sold us on the fact of, okay, instead of upgrading the offensive line, let's upgrade the weapons, right? Jonnu Smith, OBJ, draft Malik, etc. Let's upgrade the weapons so we can get the ball out even quicker and more consistently and with more options. And what happens? None of these guys are staying. Malik's the only one staying healthy right now. Never mind what the offensive line looks like. Guys, just in case you didn't know, this video is powered by BetUS. You know what to do. Go to betus.com. Use the link in the description down below. But let's hear a word from our sponsor, BetUS, said by Michael Vick.
Michael Vick at betus.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
Go use BetUS today. You can go bet on props. You can go bet on week 1. All the weeks are all up there for your NFL betting needs. BetUS.com. Remember, they will match your first 3 deposits by 125% up to $2,000. 24-hour payouts. Big help for you. It would be a big help from you guys if you go and showed some support to BetUS, the sponsor of this episode. Just please remember, gamble responsibly. So, let's get into it because there is a lot to talk about. And let's get into all the cuts from today. Again, we're still waiting on a few cuts to come down the pipeline. But that could be, we could be waiting a few hours here. It's crazy as we get to the nitty gritty. It's crazy how much, I just wish we were one of those teams that are done. Just be done. I want to know if Storm Duck I want to know if Storm Duck made the team. You know what I mean? Like, I want to hear what the deal is, and instead, we're out here, and it looks like Storm Duck did make the team. Word on the street is Storm Duck and Andrew Meyer have made the team. So we'll get into that too. That's what the word on the street is. It looks like they made it. So you got 2 UDFAs that made it. Andrew Meyer made it. Wow. That is very, very interesting. Very interesting that Andrew Meyer made it. So there you go. A backup center pretty much nailed from a UDFA standpoint. So we'll get into it all here. Let's get into this. Let's start off with the cut tracker and everything that was going down today. They're saying Duck did according to Barry Jackson. Yeah, I just reported that. All right, so let me bring this up. All right, there you go. All right, so let's start off from this morning. All right, because it started early today. So here we go. All right. So at 9:03 a.m., the Dolphins started cuts in rapid fire fashion on Tuesday. Mike Harley, Isaiah Mack, and tackle Robert Cooper all cut. Harley, UM's all-time leader in career receptions, had an impressive catch in the preseason finale against Tampa. Dolphins told him they liked how he performed in his 2 weeks in the team and might bring him back to the practice squad. Mack had several sacks in training camp practices, but the Dolphins needed to make decisions on several backups, tackles of similar quality. Cooper, a former FSU player, had been a long shot to stick. He joined the team more than a week into camp. The Dolphins waived undrafted rookie defensive tackle Leonard Payne at about 10:15 today. He played 4 years at Fresno State and 1 year at Colorado. Some moments during camp, but was never able to make the inroads against the other players, the older players, going for the 2 or 3 backup tackle jobs. The Dolphins released undrafted rookie Jason Maitre, who had a very solid camp after winning a job as a tryout player. Listen, I want to see him get on the practice squad, please. At 10:32, Jaden Janke got released. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone. He joined late and was clearly just a body. Here's the shock of the day. At 10:49 a.m., not p.m., a.m., in the first mild surprise of the day, the Dolphins cut veteran defensive tackle Neville Gallimore, who had been competing for a top backup job. Gallimore had 90 tackles in 52 games and 14 starts for Dallas over the past 4 seasons and was signed by Miami early in free agency. Gallimore, who had a good history with defensive line coach Austin Clark, will leave with $1.79 million. His 1-year contract was entirely guaranteed, so they ate that hit to get rid of him. As of 10:49 a.m., Gallimore's release left Miami with 6 defensive tackles, being Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Deshaun Hand, Brandon Peely, and Jonathan Harris. At 11:15 a.m. today, Jaquan Burton got released. I don't think that's a surprise to anyone at all, right? He was a long shot the whole time. At 11:20, Kyrick McGowan, he got released. I think they'll try and slip him on the practice squad. That makes the most sense for me. All right, so Kyrick McGowan, that's no surprise. 11:30 a.m., this one kind of hurt a little bit. Curtis Bolton got cut per source. Now you look at the linebacking group, it's Jordan Brooks, David Long, Duke Riley, Anthony Walker, and Channing Tindall. Now, Walker to this point has not been placed on PUP or IR. So that one hurt. Curtis Bolton hurt. I hope they can slide him to the practice squad. Matthew Jones, he got cut, the undrafted rookie guard from Ohio State. He allowed no sacks or hurries in 73 pass blocking chances. I think he feels like a practice squad candidate. Chasen Hines, who got cut a few weeks ago and then brought back soon after. He's had 3 different stints with Miami over the past year. He was released earlier this month before being resigned. He got cut again. Now, This was a shock to some people, but I didn't have him making it on my roster projection. Per a source, the Dolphins cut Nick Needham. One of their biggest undrafted success stories in recent years, the Dolphins have shown interest in signing him to their practice squad if he doesn't land on a 53-man roster elsewhere. Needham appeared in 61 games and started 27 for the Dolphins over 5 seasons. He had 199 tackles, 6 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Missed a full calendar year from October 2022 to torn Achilles. He came back and appeared in 10 games last season, but only had 71 defensive snaps. So, he had been cross-trained at safety over the last 2 years. I don't think this is really a surprise to anyone that, did roster projections. Now, I do hope he catches on somewhere. I know they are interested in bringing him back to the practice squad, but I would not be shocked if he gets a call from Minnesota and Brian Flores. I would not be shocked. I have heard privately Nick Needham has his ducks in a row. So I think he's got options because, it was kind of telling when he played in that preseason finale for a guy who's as tenured on the roster as he is. You know what I mean? It's kind of a shock that he was playing that preseason finale if he was going to be a lock to make the team. Which clearly he wasn't, right? So that's the deal. I mean, hate to see Nick go. I really do. I'm a big fan of Nick Needham. His mother's Shannon's fantastic. So that's what we know for now. All right. Now, continuing on here, the Dolphins at 105, they cut safety Jordan Colbert, Rhode Island rookie who impressed the team in camp. The Dolphins intend to bring him back to the practice squad. At 115, Wyatt Ray, he was injured last week and he was released. Too recent of a signing, I think, to even have a chance. Per source, this is a tough one too. The Dolphins released cornerback Isaiah Johnson, the Syracuse rookie who made a strong case for himself in training camp. Listen, that's a guy, they want to sign him to his practice squad, but you better hope he's not claimed off waivers. And I think that he's a candidate. The Dolphins, I think him and Needham, if you want me to keep going, I think him and Needham so far, Neville Gallimore, I think these are guys who are, these are the three, and I don't think Jason Maitre does. I think he makes the practice squad. But those are guys who I would be looking out for. All right. At 1:30 p.m., the Dolphins cut running back Xander Horvath, who was sidelined, who was added to the roster 2 weeks ago. We knew he was just a body because of how many guys were getting hurt at running back, and they needed a body for that final game. That's not a shock. The Dolphins released promising undrafted rookie tight end Hayden Rucci. They plan to bring him back to the practice squad, according to a source. I don't think he's going to get claimed. Blocking tight ends who are okay receivers and okay route runners, I don't see teams running to the waiver wire for Hayden Rucci. I think he makes the practice squad, which is perfect for him. Continue to develop him as a route runner and a pass catcher. So I think that slide him onto the practice squad. He's perfect. Now this one hurt. The Dolphins, they released running back Chris Brooks. So, ouch. All right? Ouch. Chris Brooks, gone. Sayonara. Man, I think they're going to try and slide him onto the practice squad, but good luck after the film he put out last year against Denver and such, and now this. Good luck to you, sir. I hope they can, but Chris Brooks looked good in the preseason before he got concussion, and then he looked great last year on limited opportunities. Some running back needy team might come and scoop him up. The Dolphins waived undrafted rookie safety Mark Perry. That's another guy who they're going to probably bring back to the practice squad. I see him clearing waivers. Now, they did guarantee him a lot of money, right? $165,000, which means they were bidding against other teams. So you gave him the $165,000 guaranteed. They clearly want to see if they can get more out of him. And again, Jordan Poyer and the turnover they might have at safety next year, you know. The Dolphins are moving receiver Odell Beckham Jr. from the active PUP list to the reserve PUP list, meaning he'll be sidelined at least the first 4 games per NFL Network. The Dolphins have just 2 fully healthy receivers. Their 2-star receivers in Waddle and Hill are dealing with injuries but are expected to be fine. Erik Ezukanma and Braylon Sanders, who are still on the team as of 3:15, are injured. 4 p.m., the Dolphins are placing Cam Smith on injured reserve. The kid can just not catch a break. So he's going to injured reserve. That sucks. I don't know what else to say except that sucks. Man, that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal. So that is the cuts that have been announced so far. Now, the Dolphins have just released their 53-man roster. They've officially released it, you know, in wow, Blake Ferguson got cut and Jonathan Harris. Wow. Blake Ferguson got cut, and so did Jonathan Harris. Wow. Just to show you guys here, I'll bring up everything for you guys, so you guys can see the roster in its entirety. I'll bring it up on screen for you, but just so you guys can see this right here. Wow. Barry Jackson. Here you go. Blake Ferguson and Jonathan Harris ended up being the 2 mystery late afternoon Dolphins cuts. As noted earlier, center Andrew Meyer made the team as an undrafted rookie free agent. So did Storm Duck. So Jonathan Harris and Blake Ferguson cut. Wow, I'm shocked by the Ferguson one. I am absolutely shocked that they cut Ferguson. I guess they want to give the reps to Andrew Meyer. So here we go. Here is the Dolphins. Let's start on offense. Here is the roster so far. They kept 4 receivers. My God. So their 2 quarterbacks are Tua and Skyler. At running back and fullback, Achane, Ingold, Mostert, Jeff Wilson, and Jalen Wright. They kept... they're definitely adding receivers, ladies and gentlemen. Get prepared. They are definitely adding receivers. Technically, they kept 6, but 2 of them are on PUP. Be prepared. They're adding some receivers. Because right now, Braxton Berrios stayed. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Malik Washington. They ended up... We talked about this at the beginning of the show. I said because of all the injuries, it made sense to keep Tanner Conner now. Tanner Conner, Julian Hill, Jonnu Smith, and Durham Smythe are the 4 tight ends. Offensive line. Teron Armstead, Aaron Brewer, Lester Cotton, Jack Driscoll, Liam Eichenberg, Austin Jackson, Robert Jones, Kendall Lamb, Andrew Meyer, and Patrick Paul. So they kept 10 offensive linemen. And this tells me that Andrew Meyer is going to be snapping on. He's your special team snapper now. Ezukanma's gone. Ezukanma is gone. Wow. Listen, the reason why they're keeping Tanner is because they can use him as a big slot or a big boundary. That's why they're keeping him. That's why Tanner's making it, because of all the injuries. So, that's why that's happening. I'm telling you right now. That's why they kept Tanner over Rucci. They've got way too many injuries right now. And Erik Ezukanma, it's over, bud. I wonder if they think they can slide him to the practice squad. All right, here we go. On defense. On defensive line, Calais Campbell, Deshaun Hand, Benito Jones, Brandon Peely, Zach Sealer. So there you go. I knew Peely was making this team. Linebacker, they kept Quentin Bell, Jordan Brooks, Muhammad Kamara, David Long, Emmanuel Ogba, Jalen Phillips, Duke Riley, Chop Robinson, Channing Tindall, Anthony Walker Jr. So obviously Anthony Walker Jr.'s injury, he should be ready for week 1 or they would have put him on PUP. So Quentin Bell makes the team, even though he kind of faded off in the preseason there. He makes the team, but because they're so low at edge, what else can you do, really, right? So very, very interesting how that edge, right now it looks like the opening day at edge, the starting I think will be Ogba and either Chop or Quentin Bell, and then you're going to have Jalen Phillips rotated in there for sure. So that's what linebackers looking at. Corner, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck, Kendall Fuller, Cater Kohu, Siren Neal, Jalen Ramsey. Remember, Cam Smith was moved to IR. And Cam Smith can return after the first 4 games. At safety, Elijah Campbell, Javon Holland, Marcus May, Patrick McMorris, Jordan Poyer. So McMorris made the team. And the long snapper, people keep asking who's going to be the long snapper. I would assume if you go back to the offense here, I would assume it is going to be Andrew Meyer. That's who I would assume. Go look at offensive line. They kept 10 linemen. I would assume it's going to be Andrew Meyer. That's what I would assume. That's interesting, though. That's interesting, though. I'm shocked they moved off Blake Ferguson. And Erik Ezukanma, he got waived. He's injured. That's interesting. But they're definitely adding wide receivers. You got 4 wide receivers? I think this is also the reason they carried 4 tight ends, too. Do we see a lot of 12 man? Are we about to see a lot of 12 personnel? Interesting. This is very interesting. So there you go. Again, we'll go over it one more time. Offensively, Tua Tagovailoa, Skylar Thompson are your quarterbacks. A running back and fullback, Devon Achane, Alec Ingold, Raheem Moser, Jeff Wilson Jr., Jalen Wright. At wide receiver, Braxton Berrios, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Malik Washington. OBJ has been moved to PUP. River Craycraft is on PUP, so technically you have 6. But the Erik Ezukanma experiment is done and over. Unless he goes back to the practice squad. They've kept 4 tight ends. Tanner Connor, Julian Hill, Jonnu Smith, Durham Smythe. They kept 10 offensive linemen. Taron Armstead, Aaron Brewer, Lester Cotton, Jack Driscoll, Liam Eichenberg, Austin Jackson, Robert Jones, Kendall Lamb, Andrew Meyer, and Patrick Paul. On the defensive side of the football, Calais Campbell, Deshaun Hand, Benito Jones, Brandon Peely, and Zach Seiler make up your defensive linemen. At linebacker, your edges and your linebackers: Quentin Bell, Jordan Brooks, Muhammad Kamara, David Long Jr., Emmanuel Logba, Jalen Phillips, Duke Riley, Chop Robinson, Channing Tindall, and Anthony Walker Jr. Again, Anthony Walker Jr. has not been moved to IR or PUP, so that is definitely encouraging that he'll be back for week 1. At corner, Ethan Bonner, Storm Duck makes the team. Kendall Fuller, Kader Kohun, Sierra Neal, and Jalen Ramsey. Remember, Cam Smith was moved to IR, so that opened a spot for Storm Duck. At safety, Elijah Campbell, Javon Holland, Marcus May. Yes, Patrick McMorris makes the team, and Jordan Poyer as well. You knew that Patrick McMorris was going to make this team. They were not going to cut Patrick McMorris after what he flashed and they drafted him. That just was not going... That was just not going to happen. Listen, again, PFF grades mean nothing. I wish Curtis Bolton made the team. Had Anthony Walker gone to PUP, then Curtis Bolton probably makes his team. The problem is he didn't go to PUP. Anthony Walker looks like he's going to be playing to start the season. So, because of that, what can you do? But it definitely looks like wide receivers are coming down the pipeline. Now, Marcel Louis-Jacques, you know, he implied that Blake Ferguson will be coming back in the next few days. Interesting. We'll see. We'll see. Now, this team is super thin, super thin at wide receiver right now. Super thin at wide receiver. Holy jeez. Let's be honest here. We got serious issues at wide receiver. It is not anything pretty, and I don't want. I don't want Robbie Chosen. So it's very interesting. Very, very, very interesting. I mean, there are some receivers out there that I like. Some receiver options that I like for this team. Noah Brown, who got cut by the Texans. Terrace Marshall Jr. got cut by the Panthers today. KJ Hamler got released. Tim Patrick, Cody Thompson, Dwayne Eskridge. There are some wide receiver options that I like for Miami that got cut today. So we'll see. We will see how it goes. But I carrying 4 receivers, I definitely think they are going to add someone. I'm not going to lie. I think they're going to add someone. And again, I'll repeat myself. I want nothing to do with, absolutely nothing to do, nothing to do with Kadarius Toney, please. Talking about, stone hands, absolute brick hands, bad attitude. We don't want that. We don't want him in South Florida. Trust me. I'll pass on that. I'll pass on that for sure. All right. The one interesting to me I really like is Dwayne Eskridge. I think that's a real interesting one. I think that's an interesting one. Dwayne Eskridge would be for real, I think. I think you talk about a guy where, I think we could get the most out of him. 110%. 110%. So I really hope they add I mean, like, no Ezukanma. I'm shocked that they just moved off Ezukanma. But you give me Dwayne Eskridge or Tim Patrick or both, let's go. Now we cooking. Now we are legitimately cooking. So there's your 53. Man, 4 wide receivers. That's so interesting. That's so interesting. They just said, all right, screw it. We're going. Now, you want to go through, let's go through some cuts throughout the league to keep you guys informed and up to date so you guys can see names, all right? So Arizona, they made a bunch of cuts today. No one, again, I mean, who really, Michael Carter, the former Jets running back, we don't need running backs, right? Who is really standing out to you now? Plus let's be honest with you, it's the Arizona Cardinals. Now, one guy who I actually am interested on in this team, who just got cut, is, you see him right here. Keith Ishmael can play guard or center. He's someone I talked about a few years ago. We should have tried to acquire. Another interesting one, if you're looking for a developmental quarterback, Desmond Ridder. But, Keith Ishmael is kind of interesting to me. That's a center / guard option. So, I'll add him to the list. I didn't know he got cut. Atlanta, we're looking here. Nothing really that interests me at all. That's a pass on everyone from Atlanta. Baltimore, Russell Gage would be interesting. That would be interesting. I wouldn't mind that one, to be honest with you. That wouldn't be bad. That wouldn't be bad at all, to be completely honest with you. Just to look into him. Anthony Miller. Remember him from Chicago? That's another interesting one. Buffalo Bills. I like KJ Hamler. We don't need a running back, but if we did, Frank Gore would be a sweet one. We don't need safety. I'm good on Ben DiNucci and Anthony Brown. Nothing really sticking out there. I do like KJ Hamler, though. But they're such a wide receiver needy team. If he can't make it, that's interesting. Carolina Panthers. Now they do have a few, you could go Jack Plummer if you want a young developmental guy. Terrace Marshall is a guy who I would be interested in for sure bringing here. 110%. Chicago, they ended up not cutting. They cut Brett Rypien and Austin Reed instead of our boy Tyson Bagent. So Bagent will be backing up over there. But other than that, nothing really interesting there. In Cincinnati, Andre Carter's interesting. Not too much after that. Hakeem Butler, not what he used to be. So that's a pass on everything there in Cincy. From Cleveland, Siaki Ika. Remember, I was pretty high on him in the draft process when he came out. So I wouldn't mind that. If I remember correctly, I was pretty high on him. He came out of LSU, right? And Baylor. He went to Baylor, and then before that, he went to LSU. He went in the third round. He's a third-round draft pick. He's a big boy, too. He's like 6'3", 240. That would be interesting. I like Siaki Ika. I mean, if you're looking for a big, big body in the middle there, that one interests me for sure. I have him on my list of people. James Prochet, remember I wanted him a couple years ago instead of Blake Ferguson. They both got cut today. How does that work out, huh? In Dallas, Feoko, I remember everyone was pulling his cards, but nothing really moved the needle there. In Dallas for me, Denver, I don't. It's got to be longer than that. With the Lions, Nate Sudfeld, nothing there. Now this is interesting for Green Bay. Royce Newman. I think that would be. He's only 27. You know, I think that would be another interesting ad if you could grab a guy like that. I think Royce Newman would be an interesting add to this offense, especially with how depleted they are on the offensive line already, right? So this is a guy who can play both guard positions, both. So I actually like Royce Newman a little bit. I would actually be interested. He's also played some snaps at right tackle too, but for the most part, he's a right guard who can swing to left if you need him to. So I find that one very interesting. Sean Clifford, if you're looking for a young developmental quarterback, there you go. Houston, Noah Brown, sign me up if you can get him. Please sign me up. Indianapolis, Kenan Slovis. I mean, there's a practice squad guy if you want him. I remember 3 or 4 years ago, the hype around Slovis. My God, has the mighty have fallen. In Jacksonville, not really a ton to talk about from Jacksonville. We don't need a safety. I know if you're looking for a third quarterback, McDaniel has some history with CJ Beathard. So, but man, Tanner Muse is an interesting one to me. Denzel Mims, former Dolphin Chris Myrick got cut. There you go. Nothing really intriguing there at all. Now people are going to say Kadarius Toney. I'll pass all day. Same with Justin Ross. He's never been the same since the injury and since he left Clemson. So that's a pass for me as well. Who else we got here? I can't believe Isaiah Spiller got cut. Alex Leatherwood. People have hit me up. What about Leatherwood? No, thank you. You could make it in with the Raiders, and now I'm good. I'm good on him. Very, very good on him. Alec Lidstrom, that's an interesting one, right? There might... did he overlap? I don't know. I know he went to Boston College, but I don't know if he overlapped with Frank Smith or anyone. But he was a UDFA out of the 2022 class. That would be an interesting one because there's a little bit of a Frank Smith tie, right? If I remember correctly, there might be a little bit of a no, not Frank Smith. Who was the Boston College coach we had on the offense? It's not Frank Smith. I'm confusing him. We had a coach on, I think he actually might be gone, but we used to have a coach on the offensive line who's with Boston College. Applebaum. Yeah, that's it. Applebaum. He's gone though, right? Right? So there goes that. Matt Applebaum. That's who it is, right? Yeah, because he left us. Matt Applebaum was with us, then he got sent packing. Right? So there goes that Lidstrom theory. He's out. They haven't even updated us, right? Myles Gaskin, oh my God, go run, go get Michael, go get him. Just like Jesse Davis got cut today. I want nothing to do with Jesse Davis. Bailey Zappi, again, if you want a young, interesting third option to slide to the practice squad, Bailey Zappi would be an interesting option. From where he's won real games before. I don't know what else to say. He's won real games. From again, Puka's brother, Samson Nakua, got cut. He had that return this past weekend too. That was pretty cool. Shane Lemieux's an interesting one. I liked him when he was in Oregon. He's bounced around a little bit since he got drafted by the New York Jets. I think that's, again, a guard. He was drafted in the 5th round. Obviously got released by the Giants. He tore his tricep last year. So, but I would be interested in Shane Lemieux for sure. That's interesting. 110%. I would be interested in Shane Lemieux. I liked him coming out too. So he's part of that real good offensive line in Oregon. So that'd be interesting to me. The New York Giants, Allen Robinson. I mean, man, how the mighty have fallen, huh? Holy jeez. My Lord, how the mighty have fallen. Other than that, nothing really interesting here. Philadelphia, oh my God, Will Greer. Matt Hennessy's an interesting one. If you're looking for a practice squad guy, that would be interesting. Paris Campbell, he just has been bouncing around since Indianapolis. So it's crazy to see how he's kind of fallen off. Dylan McMahon is an interesting one. Now, if you remember, he was just drafted in the 6th round by the Philadelphia Eagles. I actually thought he was a decent center. Right? Came from NC State. I thought Dylan McMahon was decent. So that would be an interesting pickup for the practice squad. For sure. But are they going, let's be honest with you. Are they going to? Are they going to upgrade it? I mean, a UDFA just made the roster. From Pittsburgh, nothing too interesting here at all. San Fran, Cameron Latu cut already. That's crazy. Matt Breida, we all remember how that worked out. Seattle, give me Dwayne Eskridge, please. All day, I will take Dwayne Eskridge. All day, give me Dwayne Eskridge. Give me it. Mario Kendricks, too, who got cut from us, got cut again. But yeah, Dwayne Eskridge all day. Tampa Bay, Sterling Shepard and Cody Thompson got cut. Caleb Farley was a surprise cut today. That shocked me. Martavius Bryant from Washington and Sam Hartman. If you want to give me a guy to develop behind Skyler, give me Sam Hartman all day. All day. I've been following Sam for quite some time, right? First started catching on to him when he was at Wake Forest, and then obviously he finished off at Notre Dame. That would be an interesting one to me, for sure. So some names that I didn't see on their list that I do know that got cut that I want to discuss. Tim Patrick, obviously from Denver. Tyler Huntley and Jameis Winston, one of those two is going to get either cut or traded in Cleveland. That's interesting to me. A couple other offensive linemen, Josh Ball, who can play guard for you. Brian Hudson, who can play guard and center. Cameron Tom got released. He plays center as well, right? Ricky Stromberg got released today too. Another interesting center prospect who a lot of people were quietly high on Ricky Stromberg when he was coming out of Arkansas. So I think that would be another interesting one. Bo Richter, edge player, he got released too. That's another interesting one. So, if you want my list of guys who I've written down, and I got to go back and confirm all more cuts because more have happened. But the quick list I put together before I went live was a wide receiver, Noah Brown, Terrace Marshall Jr., KJ Hamler, Tim Patrick, Cody Thompson, Dwayne Eskridge, and Russell Gage. At quarterback, Bailey Zappi, Desmond Ridder, Tyler Huntley, Sam Hartman. At guard, Josh Ball, Royce Newman, Shane Lemieux, Brian Hudson can play guard and center. Keith Ishmael can play guard and center. And then at center, I had Cameron Tom, Ricky Stromberg, and Dylan McMahon. Defensive tackle, Siaki Ika, and edge Bo Richter. So I got to continue to expand that list out as I go over, and which I'll go over when I'm done here. But yeah, a lot of interesting names cut. Like Isaiah Spiller, Chris Rodriguez getting cut. Maybe we do sneak a guy like Chris Brooks on the practice squad. You know what I mean? Maybe we do fit a guy like that on practice squad. So, listen, you got to remember, this whole thing, this is about protecting. This is your initial 53-man roster. This is about protecting who this team views as their most valuable players. That's what this comes down to. So, you know, just like, hey, Blake Ferguson, you got cut today to make room for guys that we want to make sure we can get on the roster, but he might come back. So, very interesting. Very, very interesting how this goes. Man, kind of crazy that, to me, it's just kind of crazy that OBJ, it goes on the PUP after yesterday, 24 hours ago, TBD is what you kept saying. Now he goes on the PUP, and Erik Ezukanma didn't even make it after what he was flashing. Like, I'm really wondering if they just got fed up with Erik Ezukanma. I'm really wondering if they just said, you know what, screw this. We can't depend on this guy, and he's hurt again, and that was just the final straw. You know what I mean? I'm wondering if him being in that boot was just the final straw. So, kind of crazy, man. Kind of crazy. So, let's wrap up this whole what this roster looks like. All right, this is the cut show. So here we go. Needham, Ezukanma among Dolphins cuts. Here's the full list. The Dolphins at least temporarily parted ways with veteran quarterback Nick Needham and receiver Erik Ezukanma, the most prominent of 28 players released by the team on Tuesday in advance of the 4 p.m. deadline to trim rosters to 53. The Dolphins also placed Cam Smith and wide receiver River Craycraft on injured reserve, with the designation allowing them to return after 4 games. Receiver Odell Beckham Jr. was placed on the reserve, physically unable to perform list, sidelining him for at least 4 games. In a surprise, long snapper Blake Ferguson, who was also released after 4 seasons with the team. And here's a look at the Dolphins' cut by positions at corner. They kept one of the 3 promising undrafted rookie corners. Storm Duck made the initial 53-man roster, but Isaiah Johnson and Jason Maitre were released. The Dolphins have interest in signing Johnson and Maitre to the practice squad. The Dolphins want to re-sign Needham to the practice squad, and there's a decent chance that will happen. Needham appeared in 61 games and started 27 for the Dolphins over 5 seasons. He had 199 tackles, 6 interceptions, and 3 sacks. Missed a full calendar year after an October 2022 torn Achilles. He came back and appeared in 10 games last season, but only had 71 defensive snaps. The Dolphins ultimately decided to keep Duck and rookie safety Patrick Morris on the 53 ahead of Needham. The other cornerbacks on the 53 besides Duck are Jalen Ramsey, Kendall Fuller, Cater Kohu, Ethan Bonner, and Siren Neal. Meanwhile, Cam Smith was placed on injured reserve with a leg injury sustained in the second preseason game. When healthy, he would likely compete with Bonner for a top 4 cornerback job. At safety, the Dolphins released Mark Perry and Jordan Colbert, but have shown interest in signing both to the 16-man practice squad. Miami kept 5 safeties in Javon Holland, Jordan Poyer, Marcus May, Elijah Campbell, and Mick Morris. Defensive tackle, in a mild surprise, Miami cut Neville Gallimore, who had been competing for a top backup job. And remember, his $1.79 million, it was guaranteed. The Dolphins also released Jonathan Harris, Isaiah Mack, Robert Cooper, and Leonard Payne. Mack had some good moments in training camp. So the 53-man roster includes 5 defensive tackles and Calais Campbell, Zach Sealer, Benito Jones, Deshaun Hand, and Brandon Peely. Inside linebacker, the Dolphins released Curtis Bolton, who was rated by PFF as the team's top defensive player in preseason, and David Anini. 5 inside linebackers made the initial 53, and Jordan Brooks, David Long Jr., Duke Riley, Anthony Walker, and Channing Tindall. Outside linebacker, the Dolphins have released Daquan Jackson and placed Wyatt Wright on season-ending injured reserve. Both were signed last week. 5 outside linebackers made the initial 53. Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogba, Quentin Bell, and rookies Chop Robinson and Mo Kamara. So there you go. All right. There you go. Now, running back. And this is where it gets really interesting here. Man, I hope we can. Man, I just hope. I hope and I pray that we can keep Chris Brooks. The Dolphins released Chris Brooks, who made the team as an undrafted rookie last season, but has dealt with multiple injuries, including a concussion that ended his preseason after a 59-yard run against Washington. He also seemed to sustain some kind of upper body injury on that long run. He had 19 carries for 106 yards last season, including a 52-yard run. Brooks would be an option for Miami's practice squad when he's healthy. The other running backs released were McFarland and Xander Horvath, both who signed last week. The Dolphins kept Andrew Meyer, but released Matthew Jones, Chasen Hines, Byron Matos, and Ryan Hayes when it came to the offensive line. Jones did not allow a sack or pressure in 73 preseason pass blocking snaps. The Dolphins kept 10 offensive linemen. Isaiah Wynn will begin the season on the reserve PUP list, meaning he will miss at least 4 games. At tight end, the Dolphins released promising undrafted rookie tight end Hayden Rucci, but plan to sign him to the practice squad, according to a source. Rucci impressed the team with his toughness and physicality as a blocker. He also caught 5 passes for 44 yards, including a 20-yard touchdown reception in the preseason finale. Miami kept 4 tight ends in Durham Smythe, Jonnu Smith, Julian Hill, and Tanner Connor. All right. And I've already talked about this. All right. I believe that the reason why they kept 4 tight ends, a big reason why was, well, guess what? They needed, the fact of the matter is, they needed to add bodies that can catch a football. And that is just where we are at right now. All right. They needed, and again, what does a guy like Tanner Connor allow you to do? You can line him up as a big slot or a big boundary, right? Wide receiver, Miami only kept 4 in Tyreek Hill, Waddle, Barrios, and Malik. 6 were released in Ezukanma, Braylon Sanders, Jaquan Burton, Mike Harley, Kyrat McGowan, and Jaden Janke. Ezukanma was a surprise because he had played well for a 2-week stretch in preseason before sustaining a lower body injury last week. The 2022 4th-round pick finished his Dolphins career with 1 reception for 3 yards, and having played just 39 offensive snaps in 2 seasons, he missed most of last season with a neck injury. Sanders sustained a groin injury in the past 2 weeks, torpedoing his roster chances. Craig Kraft, who sustained a shoulder injury while catching a touchdown in the second preseason game, is eligible to return after 4 games. At quarterback, Mike White was released on Sunday, leaving Tua and Skyler on the initial 53-man roster. The Dolphins expect to add a 3rd quarterback on the 53-man roster or practice squad, with White among those under consideration. So there you go. There you go right now. That is what the update is. All right. It's, man, there has got to be, all right. There has got to be a receiver coming down the pipeline. I don't know what to say. I really just don't know what to say. There's got to be a receiver coming down that pipeline. You know, that's just where we're at. There's got to be. I don't see them carrying just 4 by any stretch of the imagination. So, man, interesting day. Interesting day to say the least. So, to me, obviously, the biggest surprise were Neville Gallimore and Erik Ezukanma getting cut. I mean, it might be a surprise to some people, but Storm Duck making the team is probably going to surprise some people. I had him making the team on my roster. My biggest surprise making the team is actually Quentin Bell, because Quentin Bell really faded off down the stretch there. Really faded off down the stretch. And I didn't think he was doing anything to help himself. I'm going to be honest with you. So, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. This is initial. Remember, we still have a good amount of time, right? We still got 12 days until the first game, so a lot can happen. This was all about protecting the guys that they view as the best options on this roster. And there's receiver options out there, don't get me wrong. You give me a Dwayne Eskridge, and go get Dwayne Eskridge and Tim Patrick. Go. Braxton will fall behind those guys. Watch. I'm not even just saying that to just say it. But let's be honest. We all know how that goes down. All right. I don't think this by any stretch of the imagination. I don't think any of these cuts or releases change our win-loss outlook. So you got people that will probably try to fear-monger you. I don't think this changes anything at all. They're going to be adding bodies. This ain't done. This is not done at all. Because I see people are panicking already. It's crazy. People are panicking and just like, oh my God, I can't believe this. We're good. We're good. Everyone needs to relax. They're going to add another receiver body. And let's be honest, when your receiving group is healthy, Jalen, Tyreek, Malik, River, OBJ, Braxton, top 6 is decent. But I do think they're going to add another guy or two for sure. And hey, thank God we didn't see them force their hand and put a guy like Braylon Sanders on the roster. I'm actually still shocked that Ezukanma got cut. Like, that really, really shocked me. So, but I got a couple other things I want to go over here. So let's get into it. Manti Te'o, he talked about Tua on today. So I want you to hear what Manti Te'o said about Tua today.
The second group are the snipers. Now, these quarterbacks are the ones that have pinpoint accuracy when they release the ball. Now, the type of accuracy I'm referring to is not the type where they'll throw the ball and hit you right between the eyes. The type of accuracy I'm referring to is their ability to throw the ball in spaces their receivers aren't even in yet. The ability to throw a 15-yard comeback to a receiver that's still 8 yards into his route, running down the sideline. It's the ability to throw the ball to their tight end, running down the middle of the field on a Mike linebacker in Tampa 2, and the ball go right over the defender's helmet where only their tight end can catch the ball without any possibilities of deflection. I had the blessing of playing with one of the greatest to ever do it. Automatic first ballot Hall of Famer Drew Brees. I see the same qualities in Tua. Their ability to know how much speed, how much lift, how much touch to put on the ball so that the ball hits their target. Bullseye.
So we've heard Manti Te'o talk about Tua Tagovailoa in pretty high regard before. Obviously, they both have their backgrounds of where they come from. You know what I mean? Ooses over here, right? These guys are just ooses over here. So we know there's a little bit of a bias there. But again, you've got a player in Manti Te'o who in practice and in practice played against and in games watched him. He saw Drew Brees firsthand. And for him to make that comparison to Drew Brees in terms of the anticipation, throwing into windows when most wouldn't even see the window, right? While a wide receiver is, hasn't even made the break and come back for the football yet, throwing to that window so that ball gets there perfectly timed to run them into open space into that break. So I just wanted to play that because I thought that was very high praise for a guy that played with Drew Brees to compare another quarterback to Drew Brees, and it's a defensive player. That's worth listening to. To me, that's worth listening to. So shout out to Manti for identifying Tua Tagovailoa as one of the snipers in the NFL. All right. Now, something else I've talked about on this channel is the hype for the New York Jets. I've told you all year, I don't buy it. I don't believe it. I don't see it. I can't believe Vegas is giving them these type of lines, etc., etc. I basically let you all know how I feel that I see this crashing and burning in New York. I want you to listen to this Jeff Darlington segment today because he basically says exactly what I said to all these clowns in the media who are overhyping the Jets right now. Check this out.
We do not. What is going on with you Jets people? Between Bart, I don't think this is a very good career decision or actually health decision to go against Bart Scott ever. But between hearing Bart and Damian and now you talk about how nobody's respecting the Jets.
We're sick of it. We're tired of seeing Peyton Manning tease us at the Country Grammy Awards.
Go ahead, Jeff. Bart, they're fine. Everybody, we're just tired of it. We did the whole thing last offseason where we anointed the Jets and said they were going to win the Super Bowl, and then 4 plays into the season, he went down. We just want to see it. We don't want to hear you Jets people continue to talk about it. We just want to see them do something. We're tired of it. Bart and Damian and Greeny.
Nick, jump in.
Let them know, Jeff. Jeff is my spirit animal right now. The overhype. Everyone wants to downplay us, but they want to downplay us for not winning in big moments, but they want to overhype this team that ain't done Jack Bo Diddley together except produce some preseason highlight reps. Give me a break. I agree 110%, Jeff. It's disgusting. Donations. Evan asked earlier, anyone cut from other teams you're looking at? Well, I named a whole bunch of guys for you. Knight, let's get dangerous. Darkwing Storm Duck making the team. Knight says, Ezukanma got cut. Achan really about to be a wide receiver. Or maybe with injuries they felt since Brooks and Eazy-E would survive waivers. I mean, maybe. I think Brooks gets claimed. I'm just saying. Just my opinion. I think Brooks gets claimed. But then I look at, a lot of running backs got released, so I'm hoping he falls between the cracks. I'm hoping. Guys, as I said earlier, this episode of Phinside the NFL, it is powered by BetUS. All right? You need to go to the link in the description below. Go use that. Go bet on the upcoming NFL games or some upcoming NFL props. Your first 3 deposits, they are matched by 125% up to $2,000. All right? And you get some of the quickest payouts in the industry, 24-hour payouts. But don't just take my advice for it. Listen to what Michael Vick has to say.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits, plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sportsbook and casino.
So go support the channel. Go show some love to one of our sponsors, BetUS. It really helps keep the channel going and moving forward. So shout out to all of you. I will be back tomorrow for Fin Too Deep with myself, Mr. Ballgame, and of course Richmond Webb. We've been on a little bit of hiatus. That'll be coming back. We'll be talking about these cuts, and hey, some roster moves may happen tomorrow too. Fin Too Deep is being moved from Thursday to Friday this week because I've got something going on Thursday and I won't be available. And then look out for me this weekend as I'll be dropping a film study for all of you guys this weekend as well. You're not going to want to miss that. I'll give you more details as we get closer to that, all right? So I got a lot of stuff coming your way. And then next week, we're going to have the regular season roundtable with myself, Dougley, Neil Driscoll, Richmond Webb, Mr. Ballgame, Martin, the usual crew, and I might add another person or two. So be on the lookout for that. Smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, and as always, fins up. And I will see each and every one of you on the next one. Love all y'all. Have a fantastic rest of your evening.